All right. So hello, everyone. Thank you for attending my session, and I hope you enjoy, till now at least, the Scottish Summit. No, don't leave. Don't leave. Because there is another session about the same subject, but I'm really glad that you joined my session and not the other one. Of course. So yeah, warm welcome to everyone. And so in those 50 minutes that we're going to spend together, I'm going to talk about the Power Platform, but in regard to the development lifecycle management. So how can we really, because I think, yeah, we kind of all know that, yeah, the Power Platform is super easy to get hold on. It's super easy to start working with, even go a bit beyond that with integrating the different components of the Power Platform and so on. But how can we really go from that user, let's say, app to enterprise-ready app where we can really automate things in that in our solution? How can we bring it really to the next level and to try to mimic or to be as close as possible as a regular development lifecycle? So, for example, if you're developing a website, you're using Visual Studio, you're developing in ASP.NET and so on. So you have your Git, you have your central repository, you have all the things that are triggered automatically for you. So this is kind of out of the box in a regular development environment. But what I'm going to show you, and this is like the key idea that I really want you to figure it out during that session, is that very, very easily we can go to that stage. So let's continue. No, not this one. Okay, so first, thank you to our sponsors, of course. Thank you to our sponsors. Without them, all those kind of events for sure cannot happen. So definitely go talk with them. They are really nice people. They don't bite, really. I just spoke with them a couple of times and I'm still here. My friends also are still here, so don't worry. They are very nice people. So, of course, Microsoft, it's the event sponsor of this event. But also, thanks to our platinum sponsors, HSO, Proximio, Applied Information Services, PwC, and Docs42. Yeah. Okay. Thank you to our gold sponsors, Companion, Cloud Things, Experian, Incremental, GQ Global, ATEC, Tiski, and SquareUp. Okay, just some couple of words about myself. So I'm a modern workplace architect at Avana, Switzerland. I think I have too many years of experience in the Power Platform. That means that, yeah, I started or work on the Power Platform at the very beginning of the Power Platform. And I don't know if some of you guys already worked with the initial version of the Power App environment. It's definitely not the state of art that it is currently now. Now we have really a very good environment, a very stable environment. I remember, I think it was one of my first projects. We developed a solution for a client, and every Monday the application was failing. Every Monday. All the other days of the week, the application was working perfectly, and then we had to open tickets and then to escalate to the Microsoft support product group in order to find out the solution. But yeah, we found it out, we fixed the issue, and now we never experienced such kind of problems anymore. So I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. I'm also a member of kind of an open source community called AMS for Azure, SharePoint, and M365. We do some events from time to time, so we are a bunch of enthusiasts that like to discuss or regarding the technology. I'm also a SharePoint addict since 2007. I basically discovered this technology in my first professional career, and since then I always try to stick with that technology. You can, some social media links, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I have also a blog, my GitHub, and YouTube channel. Just to give you a bit the idea of the agenda, we're going to talk about first Azure DevOps. So I'm sure many of you already know Azure DevOps, but I just want to make sure that we have all the same vocabulary and we have the same meaning for every terms that I'm going to use. Then we're going to see how we can we really manage the application lifecycle management using the Azure DevOps with in regards of the pipelines. How can we do it? There are some tools called the Power Apps build tools that we can integrate in our pipelines to leverage the full power of that platform to be able to really automate and do great stuff. And last but not least, the demo where I will show you how can we create. I will guide you through the different environment, the different kind of pipelines. So we're going to see basically like 3 kinds of pipelines, like what we call the continuous integration. So how can we go from our solution in the Power Platform environment and push it to a central repository. Then we're going to see like a kind of release pipeline that we take our solution and push it to a different environment in the Power Platform. And then also, if we have some time, I'm going to show you how can we also automate unit tests with pipelines in Azure DevOps. And yes, of course, if at any point you have some question, please feel free to raise your hand and ask. So just, a brief recap. So what is really Azure DevOps? So it's kind of an environment, completely web-based environment where we can do multiple things. So we have some different components in that environment where we can build and test. We can deploy things. We can of course develop. But we can also plan our solution. So with a product backlog, different sprint, task, and so on, features, and group them in epics, let's say. So this environment gives us, like, it's an entry point to different things that we can really implement for our kind of professional or enterprise-ready, I would like to say, solution. Those are the different components that we have in a regular Azure DevOps project. So we have the Azure board, where we can define those. You can see it as a journal, backlog journal, where you can put all the different items. So we have the pipelines. I'm not going to talk about now the pipelines because we are really going to focus on this in a few moments. We have the Azure repository, so basically a central repository like a Git. We have also some test plans where we can create tests and automate tests and track the results of the test. You can assign the test to different people, different users, and so on. And we have the Azure artifacts, so it's basically a folder where we can put stuff, let's say, in it. So in terms of Azure DevOps, so it's really to definitely plan smarter your project, your enterprise-ready project, because you have a whole history. Everything can be tracked. You can easily collaborate. You can create users. You give permission to those users to access this project. You can have all this build release, the source control management, and also it's a really agile / Scrum board. So you can really implement your project only using the methodology that you like or you are more comfortable with those boards. Now the pipelines. The pipelines is, let's imagine it, so something that is running completely on the cloud. It is like you are, or Microsoft, because basically it's a product from Microsoft, is giving you access to a process that will run on a computer. So you can define on which kind of computer, if you want to run it on a Linux, on a Windows 11, maybe not, yes, you can Windows 11, but Windows Server or so on. So you choose the type of host that you want, and then you can write some code. So this code can be in PowerShell, this code can be in C#, whatever kind of language that you like. And then it is triggered. So this is what in high, let's say, picture, what is a pipeline. So it's a piece of a process that is running somewhere in the cloud. But you can define the host, of course. So leveraging the idea of having a process that can be run in the cloud, it is to automate the process. So you can define a certain procedure, certain things to do. So this will definitely reduce what we call the human error, because it's a process that is, you write it once and then you execute it, and most of the time, let's say, it's going to execute it in the same way. So if it succeeded the first time, most probably, let's say, it's going to always succeed. Yeah, so, and there is some, of course, some error handling. So if your pipeline goes to an error or something, you have definitely some fallback things that you can implement in order for, to control, because if something that was not expected happen, you can also handle it. Having this in mind, okay, I just want you to just take a couple of seconds. So the idea here is to automate or make our Power Platform solution ready for those kind of implementation. So we will need definitely some different processes, some big processes. So we have to initiate the things that we want to do. We have to create the build that we want to do, and then of course we have the release process that we want to do. How can we really leverage this in the Power Platform environment? Is with something called the Power Apps build tools. So it's basically an extension that you add in your Azure DevOps project, where it gives you a certain functionalities, certain type of functions. You can imagine it if you are coding something. It's like you're importing a library. It gives you some additional functionalities that you can definitely leverage in your project. So with those tools, it is for automating deployment using what we call service connection. So you can create a service connection. So this service connection will give you access to a certain environment. So let's imagine we have a Power Platform environment. We have, and I will show it to you, we have the dev environment and we have a production environment, let's say. Using a service connection, we will be able to authenticate and to access our environment to do things in that environment. So one of the functionalities that we have is like the import, export, publish, check. So imagine you have a solution in Power Platform, and so for example now, if you want to do it manually, let's say you want to push your application from the development environment to the production, from the development to the production environment, you select your solution, you click on export, and then you take this zip file, you go to the new environment, and you click on import, and then you have to update the service connection, and if you have some environment variables and so on. With those tools, with those additional functions, this can be completely and fully automated using this Power App build tools. You can unpack and unpack, and you can also do this solution checker and so on to make sure that your application is fully has no error. It's like you are compiling your code, let's say. And demo time. Yes. Okay, so I created like a very simple solution. It's called like an expense review. So it's basically a Canvas app where you can put some information in regards to an expense, and then you can submit it, save it as a draft, and then you can submit it, and then there is a Power Automate workflow that is triggered, and then it will send your expense for review to approve or not. So don't pay really attention to this amazing look and feel of my application. Okay, let's get started. No worry. Just to let you know what the application looks like. And I just wanted you to notice. So here I'm connected in the, let's say, development environment, and here I have this control. So default, it is the production environment. So basically, this application, just to show it to you, you can review the different expense. You can see in the different status of the expense and so on. And you can click on this plus button. You can define like new expense. Can set the date where that expense happened. The amount, the category, description, lunch, fish and chips. And then you can attach also the receipt and so on. I can keep it as a draft with the save button, and I can open it again. And once I'm good with it, I can click on the send button, and then the application, the status of my request go to the pending, and then there is leave. There is some kind of workflow called expense review that is triggered. So the Canvas app just add an item in a SharePoint list, and then after some time, let's say, just show it to you, the trigger of that flow is when an item is created or modified in a certain SharePoint list. So here you see, this is why I wanted to show you, so the site address and the list name are environment variable. And this is the key to be able to fully automate when you are publishing your application, your solution from one environment to another, because basically this is pointing to a SharePoint site. So I have a Canvas app that is adding an item in a SharePoint site, and then I have an automated Power App workflow that is triggered when some item are added or modified in that SharePoint site. But of course, this is a development environment. So basically, what I want to be able to do, so I have this SharePoint site called Scottish Summit Dev, where I have the expense tracker SharePoint list. But when I want to move it to a production environment, I don't want to keep that reference to that Scottish Dev SharePoint site and to that expense list, to the SharePoint list. I want to be able to change, to redirect the flow or the trigger, the Canvas app, and my Power Automate workflow to create an item in that other prod SharePoint site, and to that expense, what is it called? Expense tracker SharePoint list. Of course, you can do it manually, but come on, guys. You can do better than that. Of course, everything is going to be completely automated. Nice. Okay, so first part is the part where we do the continuous integration. So basically, it is taking all the different artifacts from my ALM demo solution and push it to a central repository. Why we want to do this? First, to track the development, to be able also to roll back. Now you're going to say maybe that, okay, but in a Canvas app, I can easily go to, let me just open it again, to details, I can go to version, and I can roll back my Canvas app. Yes, you're right. But what about the rest of the functionalities? Functionalities, but what about the rest of the artifact? For example, we know that the Power Automate flow, the cloud flow, there's no versioning. Okay, if we used a logic app in Azure, we have the same user interface, we can do the same thing, but it is not for free, first thing, and it's a different way of implementing also. It's not as easy to link it to our different artifacts. So you will need to switch, going a bit there, then coming a bit there, and change things, and so on. So it's not like super easy to track. So this is why we want to implement a continuous integration. So, so this pipeline will take my solution, create a zip file, and extract that zip file into a repository that is here. So here I have a repository, and if we go back to the pipeline, here, no, sorry, edit. Okay, so here, this is my pipeline, and how, I don't know if you have some familiarities with the pipelines, but basically this is the visual interface, let's say, where you can put components. So basically to create, not to create, but to define a pipeline, it is either you can go all the way and write some YAML syntax file, or you can use this more convenient, let's say, at least for me, visual interface, where you can just click on this plus button. Here you have all the different functionalities or artifact that you can add to your pipeline in order to do stuff. So this is the components, this is the tools that I was talking about to you earlier. Those are the Power Platform build tools. So this is the tools that I have added in my Azure DevOps project, so I can leverage their functionality. So the first thing that we always need to do, and if you remember a couple of minutes ago, I told you that the pipeline is just a piece of process that is running on a cloud computer. And every time, it is like turning on a PC and executing something. But that PC didn't exist a couple of seconds ago. So so the first thing that we need to do is to install the tools. This is done with the first procedure called Power Platform Tool Installer. So this will install the different tools in my process. Then what I want to do is to publish any pending customization. So it is exactly if I'm going to my solution and clicking on this Publish All Customization button. So I'm sure that there is no, if some developer was working on something and so on and didn't publish it yet, I'm sure that now, sorry, what I will have, the status, the state of my, this one, oops, of my ALM demo solution is there is no pending stuff that has been implemented. Then, with this one, I'm exporting the solution. To export the solution, you basically need three parameters. So the service connection. I'm not going to go in deep into the service connection, but it's basically, you can define it in the project settings, and you can go to service connection, and from here you can create a new service connection. And the service connection gives you access to certain environment. So I've created one dev service connection and one production service connection to be able to access my dev environment and to be able to access my production environment. So I'm saying to that export solution that, okay, leverage this connection, look for a solution name that is called ALM demo. It's the name of my solution, and it is the internal name of the solution. It's not the display name. So just be careful, because I made that mistake many times. And then you need to specify an output file, so that that zip file that has been that's going to be created. Where do you want to put it? So you can leverage the variables. So you have the build artifact, you have the output project, and so on. So here you can definitely choose the one that you like. And then you need to specify if you wanted to export it as a managed solution or not. So just if you want to know a bit the difference between a managed solution and an unmanaged solution, basically an unmanaged solution can be edited, let's say, versus a managed solution cannot, or at least should not be. But it's a different story, because when you can edit a managed solution, but it creates some solution layers and it's completely a mess. So either, if you want to edit your solution, export it as it is. If you don't want to use it, export it as a managed solution, and don't touch it again. Really, guys, don't touch it again. Very important. And then I know that I have this zip file, and now what I want to do is to extract that zip file and push it to my repository. So to unpack the solution, so basically to unzip that zip file, you just need the input file. So the input file here is the output file that I've defined here. And then you just need to specify in which folder you want to extract or unzip that folder, that zip file, sorry. And then, so the zip file is here, is there. And now with some Git commands, I'm just pushing it to my central repository. So let me just trigger it. And this is, so let me just go back. So to trigger my pipeline, so you can have some automated triggers, let's say periodically. You can define it, for example, every at the end of the day, so you're sure that your repository is completely synced with what have been developed till now. Or, for the sake of the demo, I would just trigger it manually with that queue button. So here, this is where I was telling you that you can choose which type of host that you want your piece of process to be executed. So definitely you can choose a Mac, Linux, Windows, and so on. So let's leave it with the default one and click on run and run. So now the process has been triggered. I'm not going to wait to that execution because it takes a bit some time to time. But let's hope it will all go green at the end, and I will show it to you that the end result is working. But I can show you earlier what happened in a previous run. So basically, all the different steps that we defined are executed. So the installation of the Power Platform tools, the publish customization, the export to the solution, the unpacking, and then the command line to push it to the central repository. And if I go to the central repo that I have in my project, I see that there is a folder called AIM demo, and if I open it, I see all the different artifacts that were defined. So I have the Canvas app, I have the environment variables, and I have my workflow. And if we check the solution, we see that I have a Canvas app, flow, environment variable, and connection reference. So let's wait for the process to build, and let's have a look to the release pipeline. So now we have created and configured the continuous integration. We took our code and we published it to a central repository. We have all the history and so on. And now let's say, okay, we are ready. We want to, we have the go from the customer. The customer tested the application. Our developer tested the application, and so on. Everyone is super happy. And we just need one thing, is for that application now to be ready and available in that production environment. So if I go here, what I want to do is here in that console, so develop, this is the production environment. I want to be able to publish my solution. And let me just remove it here, so you will really believe me that it's working. And let's go and see the release pipeline. So to create a regular pipeline or release pipeline, basically it's the same kind of process with some bit different functionality, but look and feel, because the difference between a standard pipeline and a release pipeline is you can define some pre and post actions. You can define some pre-approval, post-approval, and so on. But it's basically the same way of integration, let's say. So first thing, as you remember, pipeline is a piece of task that is running on the cloud. So the first thing that I want to do is to install the Power Platform tool. Now, then, I want to export my solution as I have done it before. You could not do that because you already done it. You know that you have already done it with the continuous integration, but just for the sake of the demo, I'm again doing it. And then what I want to do is to import the solution. So the difference that we have here is with the service connection, because now I want to connect to my production environment. So I'm leveraging the production environment service connection to be able to authenticate in my production environment. And then the only other settings that I need to have is the input file, which zip file I want to take and push to my production environment. And I could stop here. But if I stop here, basically, when I push my code, my solution to the new environment, I have the old references. I have my environment variable are still pointing to my dev environment. And come on, we can do better. So there is another type of Power Platform tools that has been developed by Wael Hamze. I think most of you know him. He has done an amazing job here, and he basically extended the tools and the functionality that are coming from the kind of out-of-the-box Power Platform tools, where we have this one, and this one is really super, super important because it's basically we can update an environment variable. Sorry, a bit hard to pronounce, but basically I'm updating my variable with that task. The syntax is basically pretty straightforward. You give it the name of your variable, environment variable, and it is again the internal name of the environment variable and the new value that you want to update. So here I have a variable called SharePoint site that back this one, the SharePoint site, and it is again we have to provide the internal name of the variable. So it's this one. So I'm providing it the internal name of the variable and with the new value because I want to point to the production SharePoint site. And then what I also want to do is to be able to update the expense tracker SharePoint list. So basically this is, you have to provide the GUID of the SharePoint list. So here, yes, of course, because it is a different SharePoint site, it means that it is, even though the name is the same, but you need to grab the GUID, that you can grab it from here, of the expense tracker SharePoint list. So this is why I am saying that this variable, I want to update it with that GUID. Once it's done, apply. Once this is all done, I can save it, and then I can create a release. I can click and create a release, and then if everything goes well, my release pipeline is going to be triggered, and we will go back to it in a couple of minutes and see the status. But if all goes well, I will go to my production environment, to the solution here, and then my ALM demo solution will appear. Now let's go back and see what happened with my release pipeline. On this one, we can see that it has been, all the stages are green, just have some warnings, but I can see that everything went well, the tools were installed, the customization were published, the solution was exported, unpacked, and I pushed the code to the central repository. And if I go to central repo, I see that, yeah, everything is still here, but we can see that the last changes was 3 minutes ago. So it is really the pipeline that pushed this code here. Any questions so far? Oh, good. Go to the release. See what's happening here. Okay, it's publishing. Okay. There is one thing also, if we really want to go also a step further, let's say. Let me show it to you. Tick. So in Canvas app, we can create some tests, some unit tests, and we can define some assert function and so on, and then we can trigger that URL and see if all the tests passed or not. So in my case, I've created a simple step, let's say, a simple test. The application loads, yeah, cool. I go to here and I go to test and I open the tests. I created a simple test to check my new expense. I can click. So basically, mimic the different steps that I should go through to create a new expense, to opening the app, clicking on the plus button, filling all the different information, and click on the send and save or send button. And what I need to assert is that when I go back to my page, I need to see the name of the label called new expense in that field. So if I click on the play button, yeah, I can publish. This, when you do this, basically what happens is the test studio in Power App creates a URL, and it's basically a matter of calling that URL to trigger your unit tests. So we are going to leverage this functionality, opening this URL, and we are going to integrate it in some kind of Azure pipeline to be able to also automate our unit tests also. So, okay, once he wants to done, let me just double check here what's happening. Okay, almost done, and let's go to the pipeline. So it's, I call it ALM test automation. So basically, let me show it here. There is a project on GitHub provided by Microsoft called Power Apps Test Automation that you need to fork in your GitHub environment. And from that point, you can leverage the functionalities of that GitHub project. Let me see here what's happening. Okay, still publishing. Okay, we can go and see what the definition, let's say, of that pipeline. So remember, pipeline, piece of software, of a process that is running on the cloud. First thing, I want to set the screen resolution of this process, because basically I want to be able to leverage that triggering of my tests. I really want to show you something. Yeah, still publishing. Okay, right, no problem. So I set the screen resolution. I get some Nugget packages to be able also to run my my project, my Power App Test Automation project. Then I need to, because basically this is the source code of this project. So the first thing that I need to do is to build that that project. So there's a task called Build Power App Test Automation Solution. So this is, I rename it, but it is the Visual Studio build task. You just need to give it what is where is the solution file, the SLN, and that's it. And it will take the code, it will trigger all the compiling function for you, and it will build the solution. Then we can leverage on the Visual Studio test task, give it some parameters. Let's say basically you need to define where is the DLL of that Power Test Automation file, and then the directory and so on. And then here you need to provide the username, because basically what is happening behind the scene here in the sample, here I have a file called test automation URL. If I open it, no, not this one, not this one, sorry, gotta put it somewhere here. Let me just see the configuration where I put it. Up in the variables. Samples. Test automation URL. Sample. Test automation URL. It's not my. Okay, never mind. But in that, I need to go here. Your repository. Sorry. This one. Yeah. So here, I have the URL that I grabbed from. Okay, this one finally worked. So let me just show it to you once again. So this is the URL of my unit tests that has been generated. If I just refresh the page and click on the play, I don't want to publish again, but yeah, okay, never mind. I just grabbed the play URL link, and you need to paste it here. So you can even have some multiple URLs here, because basically what will happen is, oops, if I go back to the Power Automation, here what is happening actually is this process will open the browser. So for this one, it is opening it with the Chrome browser, browser type Chrome, and it will authenticate with my Power App environment. So I need to give it a username and a password. Long story short, you can definitely leverage on an application ID, an application secret, and so on. But for the sake of the demo, it's because it's a bit outside of the scope of this presentation, I'm only using my username and password. You give it a browser type, so you can have Chrome or Firefox. The URL of your environment, so it's basically this one, the first one here till here, and the path of the different automation test cases URL that I defined. So it's basically going to go here and grab that URL or the different URLs and open it in the browser, and then trigger the test. As you can see, it's filling the different automatically the different fields, and then it will click on the submit button, setting the category and then the description, and then it will hit the save button, and it opens again my expense. And what is happening is that I'm checking if really this label is equal to the label new expense that I filled at the beginning. So this is what's happening. So let us trigger it, and meanwhile I can show you the previous result, but because this one takes really a couple of minutes. If I go back to this one, if I go back here, I see that the pipeline executed successfully, and we can see the different, all the different steps were executed successfully, and we can even go further, up, no, sorry, check, tests. We can filter with past tests. You can see that my run test automation executed successfully, and what's happening even is that it's taking a screenshot of the end result. So if I go to attachment, if I click on this one, open it in Paint, because I love Paint. And you can see that at the end, the process took really a screenshot of the browser that was executed in the cloud, so that I can really see, and we can imagine that we can send it as an attachment in an email or so on. So we are sure that it's not because a piece of software is telling us that everything goes well. We can also verify it with our eyes. Let's just go back to the pipelines. Okay, this one is executing. Let's see the release pipeline. It seems that it has been executed successfully as well. Check. Okay, everything is green. Now if I go back to my production environment, and if I go to solution, I see that I have now my ALM demo. And if I click on it, come on. Yeah, we see we have all the different artifacts, and if we go to our environment variable, for this one, for the SharePoint site one, we can scroll down, and we can see that the site is the URL of the production site, so Scottish Summit prod site. And if I go to expense tracker, I can see that it is linked to my expense tracker SharePoint list that is on the production environment. So everything went well, everything is completely automated. we can just wait a bit for the test automation to finish. But yeah, long story short, in those 50 minutes somehow, we saw how we can definitely leverage the Azure DevOps pipelines to really go one step beyond this isolated applications, those isolated solutions that we are creating. I'm sure that we are creating many of them, and to be able to bring it to the enterprise level ready. Any question? No, that's it for me. Thank you. So enjoy the rest of the day. I think there is some sessions. So yeah, and thank you all, and hopefully see you next year.